Do you want your business to grow faster? Are you open to new and out-of-the-box ways to drive revenues and increase value? How do you imagine the most successful entrepreneurs and business leaders double, triple, or expand their businesses tenfold or more? The answer is Deals. This is a weekly podcast featuring conversations with business owners, executives, and leaders as we reveal behind-the-scenes details that give you, our listeners, the confidence to pursue your own deal-driven growth. On this show, we discuss a huge variety of deals, everything from large, complex mergers and acquisitions, capital raising, joint ventures, strategic alliances, real estate, affiliate and sponsorship deals, franchising, and more. My name is Kupfer, and I've been supporting deal-driven growth for businesses for over 35 years as a successful entrepreneur, professional negotiator, and attorney. My goal is to help you strategize, plan for, find, and complete deals that will help your company grow faster. Welcome to the DealQuest Podcast. Let's get started. DealQuest community, I'm so excited to present a best of episode. We've been taking occasionally these best of segments from the opening questions or closing question, because there's some really very cool answers to the questions we ask consistently to frame the podcast. And although in between the conversation flows with each guest as it flows, there's no format. We do open and close a certain way. Any of our listeners who've been listening for a while are aware of that. So this is some of the answers to the final question that we always ask on the podcast, which is all about my highest value, my highest ideal in life, which is freedom. And I always say that for me, that means everything from freedom for all people from oppression around the world to why I'm an entrepreneur and I've had a blast for decades. So on this best of episode, and the answer to that question, we have coming up a number of our guests. On this episode, you're going to hear their answers to the question of what freedom means to them. Here you go. First up on this best of episode is David Wood from episode 163, who actually wrote a book called The Four Freedoms.
I wrote a book that was going to be called The Four Freedoms. And I see financial freedom. I see geographical freedom to be at wherever you want. I see time freedom to choose when to work and not. And I'm blessed to have all three of those. But the fourth, I think, is most important, which is emotional freedom. And that's where this next book comes in, The Mouse in the Room. Your freedom to realize who you are and what's going on inside. That's the first step. Most of us don't know. And then once you do realize it, artful ways to clue in the person you're relating with so that you can be more connected and bring light to those areas. And you may just find that you are modeling for them so that they feel more confident to bring more of themselves. Like, oh, since you said that, I wonder if I could share this. Now we're more related. So that fourth freedom, that's the big one I want for everyone. Another way of calling it, I don't normally call this because it can freak some clients out, but it's self-love is at the core of so much here. Can we actually have the freedom to love ourselves, warts and all? All good things stem from there.
That was David Wood. Next up is John Warlew, who is on episode 197, and he talks about three types of people in his answer about freedom. And guess what? One of them is called a freedom fighter.
Yeah, we did some psychographic research into entrepreneurs years ago, and we discovered there are three different motivational profiles of entrepreneurs. We call them mountain climbers, freedom fighters, and craftspeople. Okay. And so mountain climbers are motivated by top-line revenue growth. Yep. Craftspeople motivated by mastering their craft, being the best at what they do, and freedom fighters motivated by independence. And so for me, I'm a freedom fighter. I have the aspiration to, do what I want when I want to. And sometimes that means, going to see my kids' volleyball game because I can. I was just talking to them the other night we do a little round of gratefuls around our dinner table most nights. And my grateful just last night was, I am grateful I have the flexibility to come see your games because I never have anyone to answer to other than myself, and I can always decide to go, and I do, and that's hugely important to me, and I'm grateful for that flexibility and freedom. So that's what it means to me.
That was John Warlew. Next up from episode 203 is Phil Fiore, who talks about mind and energy.
Yeah, listen, freedom for me is knowing that I can continue to allow my mind and allow my energy to work in the way it needs to work, right? I felt very much confined in a box a little bit intellectually, right? And what was interesting is that when I was in the wires, I found myself investing in a bunch of these private equities on the side, OBAs, right? Yeah. Because for me, it was a way to kind of enjoy that creative spirit, right? Now as an entrepreneur, Corey, I'm able to open up those blinders in my mind and my energy and my emotion, right? And allow that free thinking and that free spirit to just go. Obviously check with my partners, make sure we're doing it right. But that's been very freeing for me personally, and quite frankly, immensely enjoyable. So I finally got to light the spirit of entrepreneurship in my soul that I hadn't been able to light in the wirehouse properly. And so it burns very, very bright, and I'm looking forward for it to get a lot larger, that's for sure.
That was Phil Fiore. Next up is Thomas Samuelson, who was on episode 219, and he talks about the evolution from eat what you kill to the approach of this new generation.
And freedom is everything. I mean, from a business standpoint, even though, let's say I am, right now I'm definitely an entrepreneur, but because of what I'm doing now with my startup, but I was, even through my career, I was always somebody who had positions in Wall Street and then on the buy side where, my compensation was based on my returns. We call it in the old days, eat what you kill, right? So yep. I've always had that freedom that I never had anyone determining what my bonus was, or, it was like, okay, if your returns were great, you got paid very well. If your returns were crap, you didn't get paid crap. That's it. And that's how I've always been. So it prepared me for today, what I'm doing now, because I don't have the stress, because I've always worked under, a very, decades under this thing where if I don't do well, I don't get paid. If I do well, I'm going to get paid very, very well. Now, most people in life don't have those kind of jobs, right? It's tough, but that's what freedom means to me. It always gives you sort of a peace of mind and a kind of no give a shit attitude. Like, I don't care, because it's whatever I do is me. It's not, you're not determining my bonus, right? Yeah. And that's what freedom really is in a business sense, right? Is making your own way. And I think, interesting enough, I think that this younger generation, even though I don't like some of their business practices, they have this thirst for freedom. They don't want to be in a 9-to-5 job. They want to have this, and there's an interesting term they use called passive income. They want to have this passive income to allow themselves to travel. And now you and I, passive income is something totally different, but they call it passive income because they want to travel. They want to do things. They don't want to be stuck in an office with a boss 9 to 5. They want to work from home. Now they have other things that I don't really like, but overall, I like this new generation because they do have, they're not tough. I hate to say that. They're not really that tough, but they have this entrepreneurial mindset. They want freedom. They want their freedom, right? And that's really good.
That was Thomas Samuelson. Next up is Claire O'Keefe from episode 221, who shares her Irish upbringing and her desire to give back.
I am a very proud Irish woman, having come from Ireland and have a wonderful family and grew up with a lot of love. And so I think I've been blessed from the perspective of security and stability. And I grew up in a country where I had freedom to go to school and pursue whatever passion I had, very much supported by my parents. I'll share coming to the U.S. This country is an incredibly special country, and I was proud to become a citizen of the U.S. many years ago. It is the land of opportunity. And so I think, for me, freedom, professionally, economically, I've achieved a lot of success in a relatively short period of time. I'm incredibly grateful and humbled by that. There's a lot more that I want to do, but freedom to, be able to give back, freedom to give back to communities, organizations that I'm passionate about, time mentoring. They talk about G2, G3. I love to teach, back to my elementary school teaching roots, but freedom to travel, which I know you and I share. Like, I want to see every corner of the globe. I talk about travel being my drug of choice. If I've got 2 days off, I want to go someplace. I love people. I love culture. I love experiencing different vistas. The world is vast and wide. And so freedom for me is just having the financial freedom to be able to give back and to be able to go travel and explore my passions.
That was Claire O'Keefe. Next up is Gabrielle Galvez, who identifies freedom with the word autonomy.
Well, I mean, I use a different word, but I think I have the same sentiment in that I talk about autonomy a lot, whether it's personal autonomy or autonomy as a team to make decisions, et cetera. But I think the byproduct of freedom or autonomy is this awesome opportunity for growth, right? I think freedom, particularly because the word's been so politicized, has become to gut punch feel like something else. And I view it as this opportunity to become who you want to be, to learn what you want, to impact who you want, to collaborate with whom you want, to talk about what you think is important. This is what freedom really gets you, right? It's not about only the things we talk about in kind of the day-to-day context of freedom. It's the autonomy to explore and apply wherever you want. And we happen to live in this socio-economical model that really supports that.
Yeah.
And when we talk about America being great and freedom, and there's all kinds of counter arguments now to some of the challenges, and I don't want to minimize those too much, but we have personal autonomy still. The choice to have those conversations, the choice to explore those ideas, to work with those people, to have these conversations. And I think that level of autonomy is one of the most transformative things. I don't view it as a static existence. We are free, right? No, it's a transformative tool. What do we do with freedom?
Yeah.
Right? What can we do with autonomy? What can we do with freedom? And everyone has a different answer to that. But I think it's more important than freedom ain't free, right? Which it's not. But let's do something, right? Let's own that. So now what? What are we going to do? And we all get to make that choice. And I don't believe there's a right or wrong choice to make, but just pursuing that, I think is really a highest and best use of our most, valuable brain power.
That was Gabriel Galvez. Next up is Channing Hamlet, who was on episode 236, and he shares a cartoon that hangs in his office.
I started on this entrepreneurial journey as a founder of a firm about 20 years ago now, and really enjoyed not having a boss, and like the freedom to figure things out on my own. And sometimes I've made colossal mistakes, and sometimes it's worked out well, but I have no one to blame but the guy I see in the mirror every morning. And so
there you go.
I really enjoy that. And then I think the second freedom that I spend a lot of time thinking about as an entrepreneur or a leader is we all have a choice for what we commit to and what we delegate. And when I find myself in this place where I'm like frenetic and crazy busy, I have no one to blame but myself. And there's a cartoon that I have on my desk that I got from Strategic Coach.
Yep.
And there's a picture of a person with their office door closed and a big stack of paper, and they're like working away. And there's a note on the door that says, "Leave me alone. I have a week of work to get done in the next 4 hours because I have the time management skills of a carrot." And so I always think that the freedom, we all have the freedom. It's just a matter of choosing what we commit to and what we don't commit to. And that's something I spend a lot of time thinking about.
That was Channing Hamlet. Next up is Nick Cavuto, episode 240, who talks about redemption.
Freedom to me is synonymous with redemption. I've noticed I've done a lot of training in content development and story arcs and understanding people's individual stories. The first thing I ever did professionally was I was a filmmaker, right? So I would go back to these things that there's just so many angles. But the concept is like we all experience something normal in our lives where life is just normal, just is the way that it is. And there's some inciting event or like what I like to call an explosion that happens in our lives. And as an example, when I lost $1 million in 2 days from COVID and running some of these newer businesses that were just getting started and having to figure that out, it's like what was normal before that was like life was easy, like with having a couple $100,000 a month in profitability in my companies, I had to think about anything. And then all of a sudden, a major fracture happened that really made me rethink how I was doing life. Now, most people stop in the chasm between normal and explosion. They stop there. And they're missing the liberation, be it the freedom of what redemption is. Redemption becomes the new normal in someone's story, in their human experience, or even in their business, or their outlook, their perspective, their relationships, their partnerships. What is the redemption? And I think that I'm just feeling led to tell the person who's had a bad partner deal go sour, who's had someone who maybe has like gutted their business from the inside out, or some bad thing happened within investing in a partnership or in a relationship. Redemption is on the other side. You cannot have the freedom in your business that you want without the redeeming qualities of saying yes again, of trusting again, of asking for help again when it comes to the angle of partnerships. Because like I've said, in building 4 different companies and investing in other companies and working with some of the most prominent people in business, partnerships is always the first gateway to creating massive success in your business. And it has to be done right. And thank you, Corey, for being the one who's championing this conversation, because so many people's lives are more meaningful and have deeper opportunity and impact because of you. So I want to say thank you, my friend. Big love to you, and certainly appreciate the work that you're doing.
That was Nick Cavuto. And finally, we have Scott Holman, episode 248, who talks about chickens as a form of freedom. Good way to end it.
Freedom for me is the ability to be able to, to learn from all the world's treasures that we have and be able to apply it in my life to make myself, my family, and others around me a better person. And I think at the end of the day, it's such a gift to be able to have the knowledge that we have and the freedom to be able to use it the way that we use it. So I'll stay away from, censorship or anything else that people are talking about right now. But the true freedom is to be able to have the gift of being able to learn from like what you're sharing and be able to apply it and live the life we want. And, I was laughing because even like right now I'm dressed up, this is like dressed up, because I work from home, and if you were to see me, I have the freedom of being outside, and I have 12 chickens now, and I'm actually have to take care of the chickens because I can't find anybody else to do it. So I guess it's a form of freedom as well. So I don't know. It's a gift. So I think for all of us that take that for granted, it's huge. And for any of you that are buried in your businesses, we're working a lot of hours and missing out on life, and because you can't seem to free yourself up. There are choices you can make in your business to create freedom in a very short period of time.
Thank you for listening to these phenomenal excerpts from the answers to the last question I ask on the podcast every time. I think it's fun to hear these, but I'll tell you what, if any of these people piqued your interest, and I think most of them should, if not all, if you haven't listened to their full episodes yet, definitely go back and check them out, because there's a lot of great information and phenomenal stories from these guests on those episodes. So listen to them if you haven't. Thank you for joining me on this episode of DealQuest, where we help you understand how deal-driven growth can be your ticket to freedom. If you are interested in finding out more about my law firm, the services we provide to entrepreneurial and growing companies across industries all over the country, and my partner Brian Megan and I, and my amazing team, just head over to kupferlaw.com. That's kupferlaw.com. And if you want to follow more of my content, head over to my LinkedIn page where I post regularly. I'm Corey Kupfer. Until next week, wishing you the freedom and financial prosperity that I know your DealQuest will bring.